Hey, what's happening, everybody? It's Steve. This is Slow News Day. We break the fucking narrative and give it to you unfiltered. I am here today with I'm giving him credit for forcing Peter Dow to publicly develop a conscience. I have no idea if that's true or not, but I'm going to go ahead and claim that. And apparently that's all you need to do in America. Ladies and gentlemen, the president of Venezuela, Pat Cody.
Hey, Steve, what's going on, man?
Hey, so holy shit, man. To the uncynical, it appears that that Peter Dow, the original target of your fucking sublime satire, has turned his back on his neoliberal ways and is now trying to fight for the money of progressives. I mean, the cause of progressives.
You're right. And I mean, it's funny you say money because I think that was the driving force behind everything he was doing before. So, you know, my theory on Dow is, I mean, and hopefully I helped somewhat on this, but he was going to make a buffoon of himself one way or another. I mean, his stock was so low, you know, you can't be as ridiculous as he was and people not catching on eventually. So anyway, my theory was for a long time that he was doing this fake progressive act so that he could down the road shill for somebody like Kamala Harris or, you know.
Okay, so be a fake progressive so that a fake progressive will then hire you, and then that way there's everybody's on the same page that none of this shit is serious. We just need votes.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, Bernie really won the war of ideas in 2016. So you know, the only one dumb enough to not run as a progressive is Joe Biden, more or less. So, you know, these guys have to be fake progressives on some level to have any cred. So if Dow was sticking around saying the things he was in 2016, I mean, he'd have no credibility, no chance of getting a paycheck from anybody.
No, he'd have to go work for Amy Klobuchar, and I don't think she pays well, and you're constantly working in fear.
Right. Is the salad fork going to work? Yeah.
No, and then you really piss her off, and she pulls out her steak comb.
Yeah, she's going to have a whole set.
Opens it up like a trench coat. There's just different combs made out of different kinds of metal. There's a wooden one with like barbs cut into it.
Oh man, that's ripe for comedy. If she was actually viable on any level, I'd make more of it.
Oh yeah. No,
but I was gonna say real quick, I don't want to give the impression that I don't believe Dow now. I kind of do now. I'll be honest with you. I didn't for a long time. I'm not willing to say anyone should ever trust the guy. Right? Why should you trust the guy who got paid to lie ever? You know. Right. But I mean, right now, what he's saying is helping us. He's saying the things that the diehard Hillary people that are the never Bernie people need to hear. So good on him for that, even if it's bullshit.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, man. I get into this not necessarily argument, but along the lines of this conversation a lot with people where they're like, well, look, man, you know, how else is this audience going to be exposed to this sort of information, you know, in a way that they're willing to receive it? And the reaction from the Never Bernie crowd seems to be that they're definitely not willing to receive it from Peter Dow. But if you beat it into their head from enough, you know, quote unquote turncoats, maybe it's, but I think that might be enough to get them to vote for like Elizabeth Warren.
Right. And that's one theory with Dow as well, is that maybe he ends up shilling for Warren, which is sort of like, you know, at least she's not going to pass Medicare for all if you're the establishment.
Right.
You know?
Right.
But Oh fuck! I already forgot what I was going to say.
Mm-hmm. That's funny, man. I wanted to talk to you a little bit. So, I was watching Graham Elwood's live stream on Sunday. Because I love it, because he does a great fucking show. I think he the way that he like connects with his audience on an extremely personal level, I don't see that with other shows, and I think it's fucking awesome. Um, before I get to the point Graham was making, Graham did a fucking thing that I thought was the funniest fucking shit that I've heard in a minute. And he was like, "Look, if Beto, if Robert Francis gets to be called Beto, then I'm Paco Elwood."
Yeah, we should all get our names. Yeah,
Elwood. It's Spanish for the wood. Go look it up.
Elwood. Yeah, he's a funny fucker. He and Ron let me come and it was when my book first came out, but I didn't have the books in hand, unfortunately, to sell yet. But he let me open for them, both those guys, for 2 shows, and they were just totally down to earth, good dudes. They know their shit. They're all living and breathing politics, but they're funny as hell.
I tried like hell to get to that San Francisco show. I really did. It's, sometimes it just doesn't work out. I know you were initially trying to get down to the thing that I hosted for Ron last week. Which still, I fucking when people see this, I'm sorry about not getting my footage up yet. It's coming. I have 2 jobs and have not been able to get back over to the studio to have that edited. But it's coming. Going to be in the studio tomorrow. Graham was talking about there were a couple of different people that raised the point, like why is Tulsi allowed to speak on certain things that Bernie doesn't touch? And Graham raised the point that he's heard a theory that when they had the Sanders Institute convention, Bernie and Tulsi hatched this plan or this deal where Bernie was allowed to focus on domestic policy without having to really address anything related to foreign policy or related to anything remotely controversial, outside of, now the Boston Bomber gets to vote.
Right.
But which is a shit show in and of itself.
How do you even ask that question? And that's just crazy.
Dude, that was that I don't know if you were alive. I honestly don't know how old you are compared to how old I am. I'm 41, but I was thrown into politics like early, and I remember my parents talking about this. I don't remember watching it, but Mike Dukakis was asked about his anti-death penalty stance, and they're like, would you feel the same way if your wife was raped or murdered? And he was like, yeah, I'm anti-death penalty. Are you deaf? And that turned into Mike Dukakis thinks rapists and murderers should bear to, and
right.
That's exactly how that question was framed for Bernie. They knew what the fuck they were doing when they asked it. And Chris Cuomo, dumb fucking piece of shit that he is, telegraphed all of it immediately after and was like, oh, there's a campaign commercial. Hurt. Right. You cut it at minute 28:15, and it's like he fucking just laid it all out for him.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at the town hall, everyone had a favorable interviewer. Buttigieg has the gay host Anderson Cooper interviewing him.
Former CIA intern and agent, just like Pete is a CIA dem.
Yeah. Same thing for Kamala. Kamala has what's his name? Black guy late at night. I can't think of his name right now. I'm the worst with names, but Don Lemon. Yeah. But Bernie gets the guy that always gives him a hard time, who's, Cuomo's brother, Andrew Cuomo's brother. I mean, ridiculous.
Yeah. They did the same shit at the She the People event yesterday.
Joy Reid. Come on.
Right here, let me put the person who has openly pushed the majority of the debunked smears and propaganda against you over the last almost 4 straight years. Let's put her 4 feet away from you and have her fucking snap at you for an hour.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a year of this to look forward to. I mean,
Oh my
that's
God.
basically going to be the whole playbook.
Not only that, but we've got a full fucking year of people raising legitimate questions. This comes back to the Bernie and Tulsi thing about like, do you have an answer for this? Maybe like why Bernie hasn't said shit about Julian Assange? Do you or
Yeah, I mean, I see it as pragmatic. I mean, look, I wish he would. He probably will at some point, but everybody that watches CNN and MSNBC, they've bought into this whole, it's just fact to them that Russia meddled with our elections. It's just
right?
flat out. And they did on some level, like they try to every time. It's a matter of degrees. How much did they impact it? Very little, um, but they've also bought into the narrative that Russia was really advantaging Bernie. So if Bernie comes out and really is super supportive of the guy that they think advantaged him, I don't know. I mean, Bernie's the guy that always says the right thing, no matter the consequence, but there's a limit. And I think if he was too kind to Assange, that might be the limit.
So if and I'll accept that as he's got to play politics, which is shitty.
Right.
My and it shatters the axiom that for every bad decision the government makes, there's video of Bernie condemning it. Like it does that up until the 2016 primary, and then it kind of trickles off. But I
hate it too. I mean,
I don't understand why his team of independent journalists, that are on his staff right now, but Bree, Rhoda, and fucking like I even think Sean King is like tangentially involved with them and shit. Like there's a lot of people that come from independent media that have been vocal about Julian Assange in the past and have drawn on WikiLeaks for their own reporting that are just across the board mum on this. And it's disconcerting because you and I both know that it's not about Julian Assange. Bernie Sanders knows that it's not about Julian Assange. It's about the future of fucking press freedom and whether or not exposing war crimes is considered nationally a criminal offense.
right.
And Tulsi has gone out of her way to make that point. Like, regardless of what you think about Julian Assange, this is much, much bigger than that. The Mueller report seems to exonerate WikiLeaks entirely from that narrative. And the thing that he's being held for in England right now is being a journalist and asking a source to use a different login so that she wasn't fucking caught right away, which is something that journalists everywhere do always. So all of these dangerous precedents that are being set, and then on top of that, like, those, at least in Tulsi's case, she said something for a couple of days and then hasn't said much afterwards. It's like we all kind of forgot that this dude is, being held in Britain's Guantanamo Bay for no fucking reason.
So I just feel like I don't want to make excuses for him, but I think it's a huge landmine, and anything he does say on it has to be couched in the perfect way. But maybe it's something he's just going to have to come out and face. I mean, protecting journalists is critical, and the idea that he's not going to say something positive about protecting journalism and their sources and methods, and it is a terrible precedent. So I don't know. I wish he'd say something.
So here, and this is my constant suggestion or encouragement or whatever to people that are like unofficial surrogates of Bernie Sanders. And the other axiom is Bernie listens to us and we can pull him to the left on this. And I
Right.
think this would be a great thing, a great testing ground for that axiom, where in a positive way and a non-adversarial way, like I do. Just in general, communicate to the team just how vital the larger issue is, and this would be a great time for Bernie to show that he can be moved to the left by his base, even if it's just, I don't believe that the precedents that are going to be set based on this prosecution are worth the prosecution of this person. Even if
Yeah.
it's, not.
That's what he has to do. He has to lay out the issue in the case that makes it worth defending. Not, he has to separate himself sort of from the WikiLeaks part of it and just keep it to journalism. It's a tricky one for him though, but I think you're right. I think we need to push him left on it. And, Sirota probably gets it. I don't know.
Yeah, and he's the one that really bugs me, because um I've been a political writer for most of my adult life and have written for a bunch of different outlets and been blacklisted from a bunch of different outlets and all that kind of shit. And David Sirota has always been one of those dudes that I looked up to, you know? And I I'm not writing the guy off, even though the reactionary part of me wants to, but it is, I mean, Jimmy Dore fucking says all the time, dude, like, don't meet your heroes. Fuck it. This is kind of, it feels like in the age of social media, where we've all kind of met our heroes,
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I remember there was that, I don't know what it lasts, maybe 2-3 months, where Sirota went and worked for Brock.
Yeah.
I mean, that was, Sirota lost half of his social media following.
I guarantee you that part of that was so that David Brock's empire didn't go after his wife while she was running for her seat in Colorado.
You think so? Yeah.
I think that there was a little bit of dealing going on there. Like, hey, look, you put a leash on your dogs and I'll say some shit.
Well, and Brock at the time was coming off of his mea culpa and owned up to his role in 2016 for about, a day.
I was going to say.
So maybe Sirota was giving him a chance and thought he had independence, and there was some more behind it. But at least he left.
He ended up doing great work for the Denver Westworld, like right after that. And he was doing some like groundbreaking stuff on insider Colorado politics, and shit was starting to happen in Colorado in terms of like putting a stop to out of hand fucking developers and the fracking industry. And then he went and started working for Bernie's campaign. And I don't think anyone in Colorado has picking up that baton and ran with it. Like,
I was surprised that Bernie hired him, but I think hiring him and Bree is phenomenal. It shows that he's punching back this time,
Well, and again, it shows that he's paid attention to the people on the left that have been trying to get him there, which is why I would love to test that theory out on Julian Assange, man. I don't know for sure if it would work, but fuck, dude, it's worth a shot.
Yeah.
I really feel like it is.
I feel like there's something we've already pushed him on this season. I don't know, but I feel like he got pressure, and we did move him on something already. I can't think of what it was, but Venezuela stuff? No.
I was a little floored at his uh his response to the question on Netanyahu from that CNN town hall.
Calling him racist.
No, no, not that, because Bobby Franny made it pretty clear that that was an okay DNC talking point when he called him racist and in front of a room full of reporters, and there was like zero backlash.
Yeah.
So that talking point is out. I read a couple of articles recently that where the Democrats are flat out advocating for regime change in Israel, which means they want. It's clear that he's a racist. It's clear, it's clear that he is a right-wing genocidal maniac, and the Democrats, while Zionists and while wanting to preserve and protect Israel and let Israel keep turning Gaza into an open air prison, want the racism of Netanyahu attached only to Donald Trump.
Right.
If they can do those two things, they can get their technocratic Zionist genocidal maniac with a smile running Israel.
Yeah.
And if they can screw Bernie out of the nomination, they can get their technocratic Zionist genocidal maniac with a smile running the U.S.
Well, that makes sense as to why they didn't elevate Bernie's calling him racist comment.
Yeah. So the talking point is out. It's okay to call Bibi a racist now if you're a Democrat. But what he said after that was that Netanyahu had treated the Palestinians unfairly, and that's as far as he went.
Right.
And I'm like, man, I know it's CNN, and I know it's Chris Cuomo, and I know it's a touchy fucking subject, but holy fuck, dude. This is the thing that kills me. They already hate him. They're always going to hate him. No matter what he says and no matter how many times he comes to their side of the argument, they're still going to fucking trash him. And like, holy fuck, would it be cool to just be like, yo, maybe they should stop using unarmed women, children, men, journalists as target practice.
Right.
Maybe.
Let's talk about, just talk about war crimes, keep it simple.
But you can't do that because, because if you talk about war crimes, you invariably walk over into WikiLeaks territory. It's fucking, and I've noticed that at those town halls, nobody will bring that up. But I gotta say, I'm really looking forward to Joe Biden's town hall, which I can only imagine will be co-sponsored by like Halliburton and the estate of Jimmy Savile, and
well, he's already met with the Hollywood folks. Cohn set up a bundling party already. It's all the anti-Medicare,
anti-Medicare gas house.
Yeah.
There's his position on net neutrality right there. My first fundraiser was with the head of Comcast. Yeah, there's fucking. He's the most moderate Republican running.
Yeah.
So far, and I wish they would just fucking be like, okay, man, it's our party. We're our own party. I'm sure you've all seen the meme that's like, the Democratic Party should move left, and then it's got
the heads
cycle backwards, and it's got one going the other way, and it just really looks like a pair of fucking handcuffs. Like that's where we are. And I in my heart of hearts, I want to fucking believe that because he's got 1 million+ volunteers on the ground, and because he's got a great fucking financial start, and because he's got like 99% name recognition, that he'll get through the primary cleanly. Because if he does, he beats Trump. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Right. Trump is fucking gone. The only way Trump stays is if they let the economy tank within the next 6 months, but Trump legalizes weed and screams socialist the entire time at Bernie Sanders. That's the only way he stays in, and that's if he gets through the primary clean. I
Yeah, I mean, we're all in the same boat on that. Like, every advantage is in Bernie's favor except for television, pretty
What,
much.
and for the fact that it's a rigged process.
Yeah, of course, obviously. And I don't know that enough has been done about that, but I hope that Bernie's team litigates like crazy this time, because they had millions of opportunities last election. And, especially in the beginning, they let everything go because Bernie wasn't really himself a viable candidate for a long time into the primaries. It took, I don't know, 10, 15 states voting before he thought, oh, maybe I do have a shot at this thing.
Right. Well, it was, I mean, it was obviously openly rigged against him from primary one when it came down to fucking coin tosses.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, one look at that Iowa caucus and you're like, oh, these motherfuckers ain't playing fair, and it went from that to we're just going to, in broad daylight, steal this from you. And
Arizona, and they were fucking with all the voters and the lines and the registrations, and
Massachusetts, Illinois, Nevada was a shit show. I mean, just the whole thing was.
Well, you take, so in California, what they did is they switched a lot of voter registrations to no party preference.
It happened to me. I am no party preference, but they gave me the wrong fucking ballot.
Right. So just take that issue, for example. And I've been changed twice this year back to fucking Green Party, twice.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they're still up to their same fuckery. There's no doubt about that side of it in my mind.
At last, I've got a buddy down in LA who worked for Bernie's campaign in 2016 and worked for one of the DNC's like Hollywood liaisons at a writing factory where they were producing content for Democrats and for the DNC. And he wrote vice presidential acceptance speeches for 4 people 3 weeks before the DNC.
Wow. Yeah.
And they were basically all the same speech. And there was one written for Elizabeth Warren. She was apparently in negotiation for that thing because he wrote a speech for her. But
and I think that's why she was convinced she was going to get the VP.
Oh yeah.
That's the only reason she fucked Bernie.
Well, it's not the only. I mean, it's the reason that shows she can't be fucking trusted.
Right.
That and she was consistent with her DNA profile and gave exactly 1/1064th of a fuck about Standing Rock.
Yeah.
Not really ready to forget about that. But his numbers for ballot fuckery in California come out to like 1.6 million ballots that just vanished. Yeah. Or were given to the wrong, wrong party, or given the wrong provisional ballot, given all that kind of shit. And
well, they had videos instructing the poll workers to do the wrong things on the ballots. Like, how's that
challenge to that? And you as the fucking candidate who got fucked over, who I like, short of threat of violence to you or your family, you should be making a stink, which makes me, kind of believe that dude got shown a cell phone video right before he was supposed to go out on the floor of the DNC, and there was a fucking picture of one of his grandkids with a red dot on their fucking head.
I mean, you never know, but I feel like he wouldn't run again if that was, who knows? But
it's a fucking weird old world. And Elizabeth Voss, who I respect tremendously, may be slightly more cynical than me, which I didn't think was possible for an Australian or anyone younger than me. but her take on not just Peter Dow's sudden reversal, but the fact that like mainstream outlets are grudgingly coming out with articles now that yeah, okay, Bernie is the front runner, is that there's been an establishment acceptance of him, and that he's not there. Something has happened to where they don't view him as much of a threat.
Yeah, I don't buy that argument myself. I think that the media just has to maintain a certain level of credibility, and their bullshit falls apart when you keep saying Kamala Harris is the front runner and she's fucking behind mayor and fucking wherever Buttigieg is from. You know, you can't keep saying she's the front runner, and that's what they were doing for the last 4 months or so.
And then all the last recent polling that's come out, they've had to admit that Bernie's the front runner. Right before we went on, I saw on Twitter somebody had retweeted The Hill. The Hill walked up to Joe Biden and they're like, "So how's it feel to be the front runner?"
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I mean, on paper, on other polls where they poll more landlines, more old people, more independents and Republicans, you know,
yeah,
with their maximum fuckery, they can get Biden ahead. But you know,
they wait till Thomas Friedman throws a dinner party and they call it.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean, the thing is, the more you see Biden, his numbers just are going to tank. We all know this. We know this.
I love that about Joe Biden. He's Hillary with hair plugs, man. The more he talks, the faster his numbers sink.
I mean, you just look at his launch. You know, he makes a mistake a day. He literally does. He was on The View today. He wouldn't come out and fully apologize still, which means he's going to have another week of not apologizing over the Anita Hill thing, and then he Stacey, is it Stacey Hare?
Stacey Simone Sanders?
No, the Charlottesville, the Bernie supporter that got ran over in Charlottesville.
Oh, Heather Heyer.
Heather, not Stacey. Heather Heyer.
Heather Heyer. Yeah.
You know, he uses her in his whole campaign launch 2020 video, and then afterwards calls the mom.
Yeah.
Like
right away.
And of course she's on TV saying, that's what politicians do, and kind of knocking Biden. So, the two issues he brought up in his launch backfire on him
immediately. I fucking love that about the guy. MSNBC in 2015, maybe it was 2016, they let Lawrence O'Donnell tell the truth about Hillary Clinton once on the air. And that was to observe that every time she talks, her numbers go down. And Biden is nothing if not consistent in that regard. It's fucking tremendous. I do appreciate that about the guy.
Yeah, and I mean, that's where I think when you start feeling like when you say that the mainstream media has sort of accepted Bernie or the establishment has sort of taken him in, I don't think that's the case. I think it's just there's reality, and they can't. With Biden, I think they all know that Biden's not going to win this thing. All the Democrats know it. The best they can do is hope for the three-way split. So they're honest about reporting on Biden on some level. I mean, you don't hear a lot of people really fawning over him, and when you do, there's someone else, one of their pundits that probably works for Kamala or something, comes on.
So Alyssa Milano.
Yeah, I saw that.
So I gotta admit this, and I'm mildly embarrassed about it, but until we realized that somebody's Amazon Prime account was open on our computer, and realized that the TV show Fringe was on Amazon Prime, my wife and I were getting fucking high school stoned and watching some Charmed episodes. And I had genuine empathy for Alyssa Milano for like 40 hours.
Right.
Yeah, and it's probably the most empathy that I've ever been able to generate for Alyssa Milano in my entire life, but holy fuck, Joe Biden. I don't.
I mean, Joe Biden, his whole case is that he's the most electable. So it's all fear, 100%. That no policy whatsoever. He's not even going to talk about policy for a long time. But
Well,
once
and
it,
that's
one,
Buttigieg's whole thing too, and that's kind of Beto's whole thing too. It kills me that Buttigieg gets to stand on stage and go, yeah, policy schmolicy, I'm here for your feels. And that totally fucking flies, but
and the same people standing for him are the ones saying Bernie's a cult of personality.
I know.
And their candidate is literally saying, I'm all personality. I'll come up with some policy sometime.
If you press me on policy, I will sound like a folksy Dick Cheney. So let's avoid that, fucking yeah.
Yeah, and the thing about Pete is, like, he made a lot of mistakes as mayor, and his mistakes, he always comes back at afterwards with a level of, well, I was a little naive. I learned a lesson there. It was like, you got a lot of lessons to learn still. I mean, you've been a mayor for a few years. You haven't touched any national issue. Who's to say you're not going to be just as naive with all those pundits and party people in his ear?
The next time he tries that shit, I wish to fucking Christ there was somebody in the goddamn media that wasn't so fucking bought, because they would go, Mayor Pete, you were active duty Navy intelligence the entire time you were mayor. How is an intelligence officer in the United States Navy unaware of the problems that you were going to face? Why was that a learning curve? If you're in here for your brain and have been the entire time you've been elected, why has your brain only worked for the Navy and not worked for South Bay?
Right. And I mean, he's Mr. Intellectual, right? And that's why people in California will probably fall all over him. I mean, he's probably going to beat Kamala here, but but how are you Mr. Intellectual guy, and you're one of the last people to catch on to what Black Lives Matter means versus all lives matter? I mean, I call entire bullshit on that.
Again, I did my thing the entire time is that this guy is a fucking CIA gem. We know they exist. We know there's been a ton of reporting on how many were running in
like the 40% or something, wasn't it? Military or
yeah,
it was a high number.
Yeah, it was 59 total.
Yeah,
and out of that 59, I believe 22 ended up getting elected. But there wasn't a, oh, by the way, we checked throughout the years and this is how many people currently serving have backgrounds in the intelligence community. Nobody did that, and I don't personally have the resources to do it. However, if anybody wants to fund that, fucking hit me up and I will spend the next 2 years writing that book. I will. But Pete went, okay, private school to Harvard working for John Kerry, Harvard to Oxford, and with no job experience other than, oh, I worked for John Kerry's campaign that one time. He gets hired on at McKinsey and Associates as a consultant. McKinsey and Associates is like a public partner of the Central Intelligence Agency. Public. Like, if you look them up, and the New York fucking Times has like article after article after article on him. He works for them and then joins the Navy as automatically a lieutenant intelligence officer.
Right. So he was. It was a safety. Yeah.
It just. I have members of my family that have been federal law enforcement before, and I know how that shit works, dude. I know how the fucking recruiting and promoting process works. I've got friends that I grew up with that up until very recently were active duty special forces or worked for fucking private military contractors and shit like that, dude. Like, this is a fucking I grew up in central Indiana, in fucking right next door to the town of Alexandria, which is literally small town USA, and that folksy ass propaganda World War II book. That's Alexandria, Indiana. Fuck yeah, they produce soldiers. This place right here, Boulder Creek, man, redneck logging town. You either grow weed or you fucking do tree work, or you fucking join the army after you get arrested for the third time.
Right.
You know, like that's just how it is. And fucking I have
Well, Pete's being created, obviously. I mean, the question is, how far back was the plan to create Pete? You know, and is it part of some sort of establishment party thing? But
well, it clearly is. If they're having Stop Sanders meetings with Neera Tanden and Democratic donors and Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer with Pete in the room.
exactly.
And
And you look at Pete on TV, and what CNN and MSNBC do is, if they say anything about Sanders, give it 30 seconds and they move on to covering Pete. And that's the whole playbook, is like they want to put those two next to each other as sort of progressive by association or something. But you know, there's no doubt that Pete's not a progressive. I mean, if you're not for Medicare for all, you're out. I'm sorry. There's no middle ground. There's no pathway towards it. Shit.
yeah, and that's not. So I always fall back on fucking Ron Falcone's. There's nothing pragmatic about incremental solutions to catastrophic problems. That's where we're at. And if you're referring, you know, when people refer to that as a purity test, I just want to fucking shake them. You know?
Yeah, I mean, if you're offering,
what is wrong with you?
you know how hard it was to get Medicare for all popular across the country, and it's popular. It could pass with public's pressure on people, and you're going to try to offer up something else. You know, go in there, support Medicare for all, and then fix it from the inside, but don't support some bullshit that's not Medicare for all.
That's technocratic fucking liberalism. You just tinker around the edges of it a little bit, change the optics, and hope that people's feels make them forget about the fact that they're still getting fucked over every single day.
Yeah. Well, what you end up with is, you know, just like what we got with Obamacare. It's like, you know, profits were rising exponentially, and then we passed Obamacare. So all I did was change the arc to profits rising a little slower.
Yeah.
But they're still rising. You know, they're still going up. They didn't do anything to lower costs or stop the, you know, you slowed the increase rate.
Obama still presided over the largest expansion of income inequality that America had seen to date. And the ACA, again, at its core, was written by the Heritage Foundation and passed by Mitt Romney. The mandate was what the Heritage Foundation came up as a way to punish poor people for either being too poor to afford health insurance altogether, or not being rich enough to afford health insurance regularly. Like that wasn't a Barack Obama idea. It was fucking a right-wing think tank's idea. And the reason I keep saying we live in a fucking cartoon is partly because of the way that played out. You know, Obama passes this right-wing plan, and the right wing's reaction to them getting their own legislation passed is to make it look like socialism so that we can drag everybody else even further to the right.
Definitely. I mean, the thing now is, you know, if you're for Medicare for all, but you keep your insurance company, that's the new bullshit, you know.
What? That's not, yeah, no, you're 100% correct. If a candidate is saying publicly that they want to protect private insurers, they're fucking gone. That should be on nobody's list. The only reason you should like that person is if you are on the board of a private insurer. And I guarantee that nobody that's watching this show and the very few people that vote actually are on the board of a fucking private insurance company. Like the fact that we make money off of fucking sickness to begin with is just incomprehensible to me. But I'm a lefty, so.
But this is where all their bullshit on TV doesn't, you know, they have to be a certain level of reasonable, because they came out and tried to tell everybody, well, you love your insurance company, don't you? everyone collectively is like, what the fuck are you talking about? Nobody loves our insurance company. I mean, we love that we have health insurance, we have coverage, but I'm not like, yay, Aetna's the best, or, you know, yay, fucking Kaiser, you know, I mean,
You know what I do love is that so far they've fucking taken one pharmaceutical executive to prison for his responsibility in the opioid crisis, and I hope that fucking shit keeps up, man.
yeah.
I hope they can keep something like that rolling, because holy fuck, dude, the
Now there's some signs that we're winning shit like that, and I mean, even the parents of the kids who faked their way into college, you know, there's some justice coming for some of the bullshit.
so and the thing that gets me is that there's never justice until rich people are the ones who are getting screwed over. Like,
Yeah,
the opioid crisis blew up to a point to where it was affecting the elite, you know, and not just, oh, fucking our one kid has to go to rehab again, but oh, fuck, you know, everyone's kid that we know is stealing our shit. Like, so that's gonna put, you know, some motion towards handling the opioid crisis, but it's America, so our first reaction is going to be punish as opposed to uh heal,
right.
you know. And I don't mind if you're dragging pharmaceutical executives off to prison. I don't mind that at all. Fucking do that. But like, when you have a Joe Biden in the race who is going to get an
All the
excessive
carnage.
amount of airtime for a little bit, in the way that he feels about, you know, the drug war in general, like, we're at the point, we're at a tipping point on so many different levels, but with the drug war specifically, uh if
He's the only one not for legalizing marijuana, right? I think.
I think so. I think he's the lone holdout, and that's only because a lot of them, right before announcing, evolved on the issue.
Yeah, right. Right.
Yeah. um I'm gonna take I would say hello to whoever's in the chat right now, and I see that. Does anybody have any questions for Pat there? um After you went through his partner meeting today at the airport. Oh Jesus, yeah, I did see the did you see the fucking move on video where now moveon.org is suddenly backing AOC and a couple other of the newer progressives?
No, is that just like recent today or
That was
something?
like today or yesterday.
No. Mm-mm.
Oh man, it
That's
it has me more convinced now that that AOC is there not to reform the Democratic Party, but to be part of its new heir apparent crew.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that argument. I don't know. I think only time's going to tell on that one, really, but it's possible. I mean, she's still a huge fucking thorn in their side, though. So
Oh, absolutely.
yeah,
The she is she's saying and doing different things. Like, what she's saying versus what she's doing, it is a little bit different. And my problem is that she got a mean Twitter game, and she can fucking, like, she does her homework before going in front of a camera, and she's got fucking, like, that 2 minute clip ready.
yeah,
But at the end of the day, she's still getting Nancy Pelosi's coffee. Like, there's, you know, and so the disconnect for me mostly is because she's a Justice Democrat, and that organization is shady as fuck when you look at their financials.
yeah,
Like, the Just Us Democrats, again, are seem to be wanting to become the Democratic Party rather than transform the Democratic Party. And I mean, yeah, you know me, dude. I'm heads on pikes and general strikes, or nothing fucking changes. We
right.
can't fucking. There's no reforming this fucking thing from the inside, and that's where I'm gonna land. And I don't like. I don't. Uh. I don't not appreciate the people who are really trying to do the work to be legitimate change. I know I'm going to see them when enough people lose their couches to get in the streets. I know they're going to be there. I know they're going to be among the first people there. So
Right.
I don't knock anybody for trying. I really don't. Um, I am exceptionally glad that I live in Santa Cruz County, where my vote for a federally elected official is never going to fucking count. You know,
Right.
and that I can advocate for change at the local level, and I can advocate for the community garden projects that we have going on. And I don't. I know for a fact that you can't topple an oligarchy on a fucking stomach full of Funyuns. So we're gonna, do our damnedest to get fresh produce to food desert areas around here and shit like that. Like that's what an ongoing project. Um, and
Well,
I
so, well, I was just gonna say, I mean, I think it's good to not trust any one of the fuckers. You know, even in Bernie, it's good to not trust any of them. You know, that's the only way. You know, if Bernie gets in power, he becomes president. Medicare for all has no shot in hell unless we hold every motherfucking one of these people to voting for it like they said they would.
yeah.
And to do that, you have to be able to call out anyone with a whisper of bullshit about keeping the insurance companies, you know, all the pathways to, you know, so love AOC all you want. If she's not pushing for Medicare for all or starts leaning towards some other thing, you got to call them out and make them change their damn vote. I mean, that's the only way anything is going to happen.
Well, and that's going to take, I mean, it's really ultimately going to take mass mobilization. That's how Medicare for all became a household name. There were, there was a legitimate grassroots effort to put out the information and to make people aware of it and to encourage people to learn about it.
Yeah,
and,
Roseanne Morrow and the nurses were huge on that.
Yeah, God, dude, I love Roseanne DeMauro. I do. I want her on the show sometime. I think is she do you know if she's a part of Bernie's campaign or is she just a vocal public unofficial surrogate?
Yeah, I think she's an unofficial surrogate at this point, but I know she's in with the campaign. I met her when at the San Francisco rally and talked to her for just a brief second, but yeah, I mean, I feel like she's sort of directing some of the progressive outreach, like, you know, her reaching out to me and me talking to her is no accident. It's because I'm a social media presence and, you know, that kind of thing. And I think she's sort of the middleman between the campaign and the grassroots folks.
So almost a liaison, if you will.
Yeah, a liaison to Peter Douche's liaison. So they cancel out somehow. I don't know. It's math or some bullshit.
Speaking of, man, Jesus, that one worked. What's the future look like for your social media satire and for Doucheleaks? And maybe there are people who are watching that don't know what Doucheleaks is all about, and you can tell them.
Yeah, right on. So Doucheleaks started because I had the parody account Peter Douche, which was parodying Peter Dow. Peter Dow is the guy who's sort of seen the light, allegedly. Who knows? But I created Doucheleaks to be a parody site that writes, you know, I've got lots of different satire propagandist kind of people. So I've got Russia Maddow. Instead of Kurt Eichenwald, I've got Kurt I've Gone Bald. Instead of Max Boot, I've got Max Bootlick. Who else do I have? Instead of Marcus Milizzo, I got Marcus Makes It So. He's the poll guy for the Daily Kos, that kind of thing. Yeah. So anyway, it's a forum where I'm going to do like a lot of onion, like fake news stuff, but it's all politics based. I'm going to have, it's up, but it's only been out for maybe 3 weeks. So it's really not everything it's going to be just yet.
God, I should write up a piece and send it over to you.
Yeah,
I enjoy that shit. I'm
going to have all kinds of guest writers. So man, if you want to write something, get in touch. I haven't put that part up yet just because figuring out how to run a goddamn website is new to me. So there's a learning curve, and I'm kind of past that now, but I didn't want to bite off more than I could chew initially. So
No, I get it, dude. My typical mode of behavior is to completely overcommit to something, knowing full and damn well I don't know how it works, and not doing enough study along the way to figure it out, and hoping that
yeah,
just by my mere presence and general brain power, I will, with no information available or that I have already processed, be able to make this thing function. And then I'm always surprised when it doesn't.
yeah. Well, I'm kind of the same way. I'm stubborn, so I'll try to do these things on my own, and then uh, I'll get there, but I'll be a month later than I expected for freaking everything, pretty much.
I have to always fall back on my favorite Douglas Adams quote, who wrote The Hitchhiker's Guide. All that, yeah, he said, "I love deadlines. I love the whooshing noise they make as they fly by."
Right.
It took him.
Thanks for all the fish.
Yeah, dude. I mean, this world itself is a fucking parody. Like so I love the satirists that are out there that really fucking shine a light on that, man. I do. I appreciate the hell out of well, you taking the time out today, but what you're doing. Um
Well, right on. I'm hoping that Doucheleaks is a hub for all kinds of stuff like that, not just stuff that I write, but
mhm.
that's the idea anyway. At some point.
That's groovy. I wish you the best of luck in that. My family just got home, which means I have chores to do before I go to work tonight. But yeah, dude, I really appreciate you coming out and talking today and letting us know what's going on in the world of Pat and Silly Rabbit.
Right
Do
on,
you
Steve.
have
What's
do
that?
you have you haven't picked out a new target yet for the Silly Rabbit account?
Oh yeah. So I'm not sure what to do with that, but I decided I was going to switch it. Just if Peter Dow ever gets back on his bullshit, it's 30 seconds and I'm back to being Peter Douche.
Can I suggest something?
Yeah. What do you got?
Radicalized far left Stephen Colbert.
Take because that's what we need on. If Colbert was left like he used to be or alleged to be, that'd be great. But yeah, he doesn't exist. That's a good idea.
And Stephen Colbert's, because he already has an alter ego, so it would be an alter ego,
Yeah.
and this could be the Stephen Colbert that is, funny again and says stuff that isn't coming out of the Center for American Progress.
Yeah. I mean, or maybe I do just a little bit more Republican Stephen Colbert, or just,
I don't know. I'll be interested to see what happens. Because Biden's gonna make the late night rounds, right?
yeah.
So it'll be kind of fun to see how they treat him. Like, I don't know if they're gonna be able to hold back on not giving fucking creepy Uncle Joe a little shit.
I think what they're going to do is they're going to use him to try to bring down Bernie and him as both the old geezers. I think that's the whole comedy shtick.
Okay. I could roll with that. All right, man. Well, I'm gonna get. Hey guys, if you dug what you saw today, if you like what I'm doing here, like, subscribe, share the show with friends. And one of these days I will get my ass in gear and get a Patreon up. This has been Slow News Day Live with Pat Cody, and thanks for fucking watching, y'all.
Right on, Steve. Appreciate it, man.
Cheers, Pat. Good luck to us all.